And we continue at 2:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, we mentioned how Gavin stopped in Houston before he went on to Brazil for that climate conference. He had a big old rally with Texas Democrats. And again, this was in Houston, Astro country. And he thought it would be a good idea to bring up the Dodgers.
You may have seen this on Election Day in Los Angeles. Days after, I'll say it, the Los Angeles Dodgers won the World Series. I know. By the way, forgive me. Oh, hold on. Hold on.
That's what you call losing control of your crowd.
The cheating Astro fans don't want to hear anything about the Dodgers.
Just wait till one of them starts beating on a trash can. By the way, my hotel when I was in Brazil was nowhere near this conference. And one of the days, actually multiple days, and it was a very nice hotel that I was staying in. It was right there at Copacabana, right on the beach. I use points. And I'm in the pool, which is on the rooftop of the hotel, and it's overlooking the Sugarloaf, and it's overlooking Christ the Redeemer, and you've got the beautiful ocean, the blue ocean, and everything going on in Rio de Janeiro. And there are these other people in the pool that are ordering insanely expensive bottles of wine. And you know what kind of cocktails people have when they're in the pool? Maybe you get a beer, maybe you get a pina colada. Down there you get a caipirinha. You get pool drinks. You're not buying very expensive bottles of wine and having bottle service where an attendant has to come and check on you every 10 minutes to take your very expensive bottle of wine that's being kept someplace else and refilling your glass. And I noticed that they were Americans. And I go, hey, are you guys from the States? And they said, yes. And I said, oh, look at that, Americans, because not everyone down there speaks English. So you meet someone who speaks English, you have a conversation with them. And I said, so what are you here for? Oh, we're here for the climate change conference. Oh, yeah? Yeah, we're from the United States, but, you know, the president, and then they roll their eyes, doesn't send a delegation, but all the big cities do. So the big cities and the big states, they all send people, like California sent Gavin Newsom, and then they go down there and they have a great big party where they hang out in the pool and drink very expensive bottles of wine.
I wonder if they know Ricardo Lara.
I'm very kind of sketchy.
If they don't, they will soon. That I can promise you. So anyway, over many expensive bottles of wine, I'm sure they figured everything out with the climate. While I was gone, the city of Los Angeles, in their infinite wisdom, decided that of all the problems facing the city of Angels, number one on their list was that the city is too easy on landlords. And they decided they had to change that.
There was a campaign going on for the last year and a half from the Keep LA Housed coalition that the DSA wing of the LA City Council was purporting cap the rent at 3%, regardless of inflation, regardless of utility costs or insurance. And the City Council voted yesterday to cap the rent at 4%.
And we have a housing shortage, and they think this is going to lead to more developers and more landlords wanting to do more business in L.A.
For more on what the L.A. City Council voted on yesterday, here's a report from KTLA in Los Angeles.
Just into the newsroom, the LA City Council has voted on changing the city's rent stabilization ordinance.
KTLA 5's Kimberly Chang live now in downtown LA with the details. Kimberly.
This meeting started at 10 o'clock this morning. It was a packed house, and we're now learning that the city council just took its vote. Take a look.
Oh, yeah. There were obviously a whole bunch of DSA people there to put their voice in public comment, but there were also a ton of landlords who are about to go out of business when this thing gets into effect, and they straight up booed Hugo Soto Martinez.
Well, just think about this for a second. Let's say you're a landlord. What are you supposed to do if the rent is capped at what, 4%?
4%.
Okay. They just approved a hike for State Farm of 20%, correct?
For rental property, like if you're a landlord and you own an apartment building, that raise was 38%, John.
Okay, so the insurance is going up 38%. What about the trash fees?
Those went up.
Okay. What about utilities?
Well, everyone's power is going up because we got to pay for all these AI data farms.
And how about all the lawsuits that will come from the fires? Because we know that Southern California Edison was responsible, allegedly, for starting at least one of the fires, correct?
That's what they're saying.
Okay, so that means that your electric bill is going to skyrocket. What about taxes?
Oh, those keep going up.
Taxes keep going up. What about when you hire someone to cut the grass? I know at my HOA, the landscaping company wanted a 35% increase year to year. So that's going up. What about when you need to hire a plumber or an electrician to fix something that breaks at the house? You think that's any cheaper than it was last year? These people are losing their shirts.
12 ayes, 2 noes. This item is adopted as amended.
All right.
And that was just a few moments ago. Item 47, a proposal to overhaul the rent stabilization ordinance. As you heard, it has passed. For hours, council listened to public comments and debated.
Well, council didn't listen to public comment. They never listened to public comment. It's just there.
Yeah, they have to check a box.
For hours, council listened to.
No LA City Council person, no member of the legislature, no member of one of our oversight boards like CPUC has ever been swayed to make a decision by public comment.
No, the outcome is a foregone conclusion. They just have to make sure it's legal.
For hours, council listened to public comments and debated the issue. The proposal would cap annual rent increases at 3% for rent stabilized units in the city, roughly 650,000 units.
Which, by the way, a major portion of the landlords that own those units, the ones that fall under the RSO, they couldn't make it work during COVID when the city and county of LA said you can't collect rent anymore. And so they got out of the business and they sold those old buildings to BlackRock, who tore them down, evicted everybody, and constructed monstrosities with $4,000 rent for a studio apartment.
You almost have to do that. I mean, I can't even say that I blame them.
Earlier, the Keep LA Housed coalition which supports the proposal, held a rally ahead of the vote.
We have gone throughout the city to share why it is important to cap the rent at 3%. And
because it rhymes?
Maybe she could be mayor of LA.
And Sergio ended with saying, we must stand with working class families, with working class Angelinos. Let's not put profit over families.
What profit?
You're talking about losses here.
What we decided then, along with
Oh, here's Nithya, the architect of all this nonsense.
what we
Oh,
decided,
great.
what we decided then, along with
I wonder if she starts almost every conversation she has with anybody. You know, I went to school to be a city planner.
It's like Al Bundy with the 4 touchdowns in a single game.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. I wanted to be a city planner.
what we decided then, along with all of those protections that we passed, was that we needed to look at how the rent was being charged to people who lived in rent stabilized units. And what we found was that the rent was too damn high.
This isn't going to lower the rent, though.
No, it's not. And it also plays on, I guess, a false belief that most landlords out there are Donald Sterling or BlackRock or some billionaire individual or some multinational corporation. When in reality, most landlords are like Fred Nethel Mertz or Mr. Furley. That's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with someone who is not rich, who is not wealthy, who is trying to pay their bills too. And this is how they make their money, to pay their bills. But now you've taken that away from them.
And most of these units, again, we're talking about buildings that were constructed before 1978. They're mostly between like 3 to 10 units each. They're small apartment buildings that are owned by mom and pops, and they're usually the target of the city of Los Angeles and their wrath.
Today, I'm calling.
Oh, here's Ulysses.
Today, I'm calling on those same colleagues that with incredible fervor threw down for the convention center.
They threw down, huh?
To throw down for our renters and our families today here in the city of Los Angeles.
She gets paid $220,000 a year to talk street.
And worth every penny. Oh, wait, we're not making those anymore.
Hey, this is the coalition that votes in the city of LA, and now they've got 5 members.
It makes you wonder why the founding fathers thought that only landowners should be able to vote, doesn't it?
The ordinance, also known as RSO, would apply to apartments built on or before October 1st, 1978. Supporters said today that this will assist renters who spend a significant portion of their income on rent amid the rising cost of living. But it
doesn't lower the rent. If it's already unaffordable, this doesn't make it any less unaffordable.
No, it makes it so that the small-time landlords have to sell to someone else.
And when
someone
they sell,
else who can afford the lawyers to evict the people to do exactly what you just described. What they claim they don't want is what they're forcing the landlords to do.
When a mom and pop decides they can't do business anymore and they sell to private equity uses a law called the Ellis Act where they can legally evict every single person in that building, putting them out on the street where they're not going to be able to find any other rent-controlled units. So the city council is actively destroying the amount of rent-controlled units that are in the city of Los Angeles under the guise of we're helping them.
And let's just say that you are a small-time landlord who has the ability to hang on because you own the building outright or your mortgage is so small you can still make money on it. What is your motivation to fix the building? What is your motivation to make it look attractive and pretty? You have none. So you end up with a city that has mansions and favelas. We don't need any more tenements in Los Angeles. The city used to be clean. The city used to be beautiful. And now we have buildings that need repair. We have sidewalks that need repair. We have schools that need repair. We have streets that need repair. This whole town needs a makeover. It's like we need to do whatever you have to do to call HGTV to remake it down.
But there were plenty of people who were arguing against it earlier today before that vote happened. Many said that this would push out landlords whose costs have also gone up, stall construction, and shrink housing.
In fact, you know, it's funny. You remember, John, it was in 2022 when this same coalition got the voters of Los Angeles to pass Measure ULA, which they called the mansion tax, which was a 5% to 10% tax on any building that's worth over $5 million, which is pretty much any piece of multifamily housing. Since then, and because of that law, it's cited all the times, currently in LA, not one new apartment building is being built.
No, this doesn't lead to more housing. This leads to a scarcity of housing, which is what we already have.
Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez said that since COVID, landlords have been, quote, jerked around and are still trying to recoup losses. We also heard from Fred Sutton earlier today with California Apartment Association. He urged the council to reject the proposal.
Leadership requires facts and the courage to do what's best for the city. You cannot claim to be pro-housing while pushing regulations that are anti-housing provider.
Well, that's what they just did.
Well, because it's ideological. Because you now have a DSA voting bloc on that council that is substantial. And you have a mayor who is allied up with that voting bloc. And fundamentally, they don't believe in private property. Well, if you don't believe in private property, then who cares if the landlord makes a profit? That's not your goal. Your goal is to make sure that the proletariat has what they need, enough to survive. The government owns the means of production. And if you make it so that you just freeze the landlords and you give them no options and they just have to fix stuff when it breaks and they're not allowed to raise the rent to cover those costs, well, then effectively the government owns the unit.
Reject this proposal and reject any magic numbers that will deepen our housing crisis.
The environment that we're creating, because I agree, Ms. Rahman, the rent is too damn high. But you can't ignore the hand you play in helping to obstruct that housing being invested in and developed in the city when you continue to make it an unknown return on your investment. People don't want to invest in the city when they keep having the needle move.
It still passed.
Of course.
But again, that proposal did pass. Now, we are hearing cheers in the background here. There was a large group out in front of City Hall holding that rally. We're going to speak with them and get their reaction to this latest information, and we'll have more coming.
You know, they're actually pissed. The Keep LA House people, they're pissed because the city council compromised to 4% instead of 3%. So now they're very angry. They didn't go far enough.
I'll tell you, we live in a place where all the fun stuff is in the city. You want easy access to the airport? Live in Westchester. You want to be near the Laker games? Live downtown. You want to be near all the cool restaurants? You go to Hollywood. However, they make it so that you can't do that. You make it so that it's more convenient to you to live in Orange County or to live in a city other than Los Angeles in Los Angeles County or the Inland Empire or whatever, and you come in for the fun stuff and then you leave and you go back to a place where it's semi-normal. Because with these people with that mentality in charge, how can you justify spending $1-2 million on a single family home or whatever it is that it costs to have an apartment building? There are too many liabilities. And by that, I mean 15 of them. The city council. You can't justify that expenditure. You want to be a city that's attractive to wealth, that's attractive to investors, that makes people want to lay down roots in your community and to invest in small businesses, housing, whatever the case. But we do the exact opposite here, and then we act surprised when the cost of living shoots through the roof and there's no place for anyone to live. And the city looks dirty and dumpy. This is one of these things where if they don't figure it out before the Olympics and people come here and they see the condition that this city is in, and again, it's not just the roads and the sidewalks. Our housing looks awful right now, too. We could use a fresh coat of paint in this town. But who's going to spend that money when you can't even pay the bills that you have now? Makes no sense. Let's go to Mark in San Diego. Mark, hello.
Hey, John. The idiots in the city of Los Angeles are much less intelligent than the people who run the real estate companies like the ones that I work for. I wish I had put all my money into one of the companies that I go out and just take a look at something for them, because they are hovering over any property. It could be 100 units, 600 units. And when that property is in distress, they're just going to take it and fix it up or demo it and build something else, and then the rents start over again and go way up. That's true. That's just the way it is.
And you know what? If you can see it, and I can see it, and Randy can see it, the city council should be able to see it. But unfortunately, they're the ones that get to vote, and they're the ones that don't seem to care, or they don't see it. One of the two. All right. So we know that Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff has been charged by the feds for corruption. But that's not the only headache in Sacramento for Gavin Newsom. Randy, he's got a bit of a remodel problem going on, too.
Ashley Zavala is never going to let this story go. To our benefit, it's the Capitol Annex project, this unbelievably expensive addition to the state capitol that nobody will say how much it costs or why they're building secret pathways to hide from the press. And you remember a couple of weeks ago, Zavala caught Gavin Newsom in another press conference to ask about this because he was complaining about the east wing of the White House getting demolished. And he's like, oh, I'm just as outraged as you. I want to know about this too. Well, it's 2 weeks later, and do you think we've gotten any answers from Gavin Newsom?
Of course not.
So let's go again. Here's Ashley Zavala, the political director for KCRA3.
We are following up again with a project and project leaders on the California Capitol Annex. That's that new office building for lawmakers and the governor.
2 weeks ago, Governor Gavin Newsom told us he would help provide information about the cost of the construction.
And he didn't.
Of course not, because Gavin is all about big, grandiose proclamations and zero follow-through.
Yeah, I'll get right on that. First, I got to go to Brazil.
As the Capitol Annex project has been shrouded in secrecy. KCRA3's political director Ashley Zavala joins us now. She's been following this for years at this point. What's the update?
Edie Ingolson, we are still trying. Despite Governor Gavin Newsom saying the lack of transparency with this project is inappropriate, the main group of people overseeing this are still not budging. Now, some lawmakers who...
Why is it so hard to just openly say how much this project costs?
Because what you do is you have everyone sign an NDA, and then you go, I would love to tell you the answers to all of those questions, but unfortunately, there are NDAs that are signed. Yeah, well, who asked them to sign the NDA? Well, that's not really important.
Well, and if you're wondering what is the secret they're trying to hide, maybe it has something to do with whatever contractor got awarded this. How did the bidding process go? Did the person who is doing the work have any connection with somebody in the government?
Well, there's that. And then they're building secret tunnels so that members of the legislature can avoid the press so they don't have to answer any questions.
They're calling them the Zavala Tunnel.
Now, some lawmakers who say they're also being left in the dark are asking him to get more involved. No days off for the crews working on California's Capitol Annex project. As the construction quickly progresses, project leaders known as the legislature's Joint Rules Committee still will not release the updated cost to taxpayers. They continue to withhold the latest.
Say what you will about the crooked high-speed rail. At least every year they come out and say, yeah, it's going to cost us $130 billion.
Yeah, with this one, they just don't even tell us.
They continue to withhold the latest key cost information we requested through a formal records request in August. And committee leaders, Assemblymember Blanca Pacheco and State Senator John Laird, are still ignoring interview requests. At last check, at least 3 years ago, lawmakers said it would cost $1.1 billion.
It's inappropriate. By the way, I didn't know they were not talking to you. I apologize.
It's so patronizing.
That's how he talks, though. That is Gavin Newsom.
It's inappropriate. By the way, I didn't know they were not talking to you. I apologize that members of the legislature are not talking to you. They're on recess. I'll check in with them. Let me know. I'm happy to help you try to get access to members of the California legislature with respect, not my branch of government, but I'm happy because as a taxpayer, I'd like to know as well.
He's so patronizing.
And here we are 2 weeks later. Has he helped? He has not.
Exactly 2 weeks after Governor Gavin Newsom said this, still no movement. The chief administrative officers for the Joint Rules Committee, Leo Lopez and Erica Contreras, blamed a lawsuit that ended a year ago for the lack of public updates. In a statement, they said, in part, the fiscal impacts resulting from the associated construction cost escalation continue to be received and assessed by project managers to ensure that any public update reflects accurate information.
We're just still trying to get the numbers together. We don't actually know how much this is costing you.
Just give us a little bit of time and a calculator.
But that is not a good explanation for why we don't have an updated cost estimate.
Adjunct McGeorge School of Law professor and lobbyist Chris McKaylee expects the committee is going to have to ask lawmakers and the governor to approve more money for the project.
If the legislature is going to put a pot of money into the state budget, clearly that should be publicly disclosable.
We need to know a full accounting of the project.
Assemblyman Josh Hoover, along with Assemblyman Joe Patterson, sent a letter to Governor Gavin Newsom this week asking him for help. Among many things, they requested he direct the state agencies involved in the project to provide key cost information to the public.
And isn't one of his top advisors on that committee?
Yes, he gets an appointee to that committee, who I believe is a former member of the legislature, by the way.
It's so incestuous.
We do feel like he has the authority to really demand transparency and accountability on this. We have heard from his office very briefly, who has basically told us that this is the responsibility of the Joint Rules Committee, which we agree with. However, we really do hope that he reconsiders and decides that he does want to help provide more transparency here.
What does it say when members of the assembly can't get answers from an assembly committee?
Well, because Newsom is trying to act as if it's a separation of powers issue, where, it's the legislature that's not being responsive. It's not me. When no, you have members of the legislature who are trying to get to the bottom of this. What it is a partisan issue. The Democrats control the state of California, and they can give the contracts to whoever it is that's a favored contractor, and they can trade favors back and forth. They like to do the horse trading. And they like to make sure that the press is cut out of the equation so that the press has zero access to the members. And because they hold all the cards, because they have more than a 2/3 majority in each house, and they have the governor's mansion, their attitude is, we don't have to tell you anything. We won the elections. We're in charge. The people of California are happy with us. We have zero accountability to the Republican members of the legislature or to the press.
The story went from, this is a really expensive building, to why are they hiding what this building costs? It's a much worse story for them if people pay attention to it.
No kidding.
It's a big if, though.
As we've been reporting, more than 2,000 people have signed non-disclosure agreements to legally keep broad information about this project a secret. With the records that we are getting from the Joint Rules Committee, people who continue to get involved in this project, including government officials, continue to sign them even as of this year.
So we heard from the governor saying, even I want to know this as a taxpayer. Any update?
Yeah, so just to be fully transparent with everyone and you at home, we didn't just decide to do this update today. We gave everyone involved, including the governor, a heads up that we were working on this last week and that we plan to air today. A spokesperson for the governor, Tara Gallegos, reiterated statements she made a couple of weeks ago about the governor's limited role in the project. When I asked her what the governor is doing to deliver on that promise that he made to essentially help me with this, to get you this information, she did not respond.
Of course.
She did not respond. We are hoping to hear back from his office at some point soon.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for staying on.
Asking the question.
We will.
So look at the timeline here. 2 weeks ago, Ashley Zavala gets Gavin Newsom on the record to say, this is outrageous. I'm going to help you out with this. A week ago, Zavala goes to his office and says, hey, we're going with an update on this story. Have you found anything for us yet? And they ghost her. So now here we are 2 weeks later, and she gets to go on the air with the story. Gavin made us another promise that he couldn't keep.
And think about the hypocrisy here. Gavin Newsom is going nuts over Donald Trump putting a ballroom in at the White House, a room that is not being paid for by the taxpayers, that the people will own. He won't own that ballroom. The people will own that ballroom. The ballroom will be there when he leaves the White House. Yet in California, the taxpayers are being stuck with the bill for the Capitol Annex project. They won't tell us how much it's costing. They won't tell us when it's going to be completed. They won't tell us who won the contracts. And then they're signing NDAs so they can't if they wanted to. And that's fine. While they're feigning outrage over a ballroom that's being paid for by private donations. I'll tell you, Newsom thinks he's going to be the next president of the United States. And in a one-party state, he can get away with this because until people start voting differently, there are no consequences for this bad behavior unless you break federal law and you get on their radar, and then theoretically you can go to prison, which is going to happen to some of his associates. But unless and until the people start voting different, you can get away with this without consequence. But when you get on the national stage and you run in a Democratic primary, or let's say you're the Democratic nominee, you're going to have a lot of people with a lot of money, a lot of resources, and a lot of motivation to tell the story. And you just saying, I'm not going to answer the questions because I don't have to, is not going to play well in Iowa. It's not going to play well in South Carolina or New Hampshire. That is an awful look. He can get away with it here. He can't get away with that if he has another candidate and an electorate that is not necessarily wed to him, and he's going to give that weak response. It's not a bad look. It's an awful look. And it is time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this one takes us to the land of golden bears.
Someone broke into a sorority.
Uh-oh.
For more, here's KTVU, Fox 2.
It was a scary incident over the Halloween weekend. Berkeley police say the suspect, at age 45, more than twice the age of the average Cal student, had no reason to be at the sorority.
It's also the wrong gender.
Well, apparently you can get away with that at the Beverly Center.
He had taken one of the women's underwear.
Oh, no.
Of course.
He had also gone into the shower room.
Disturbing behavior by a man accused by Berkeley police of watching women sleep and shower at a sorority near the UC Berkeley campus.
He does not live there. He is not a Cal student. He should not be inside a sorority unattended or without permission.
Would there be permission?
No, never. That guy should be removed with mace.
It happened at Alpha Chi Omega on Waring Street, just a block from UC Berkeley, early the morning after Halloween. Berkeley police say the intruder roamed freely through the sorority, opening the door to the TV room and watching 5 women sleep in the room where he stole underwear.
This is so creepy.
Does it get any creepier than that?
What's funny is this is completely unacceptable behavior. But if you go back to, the rowdy frat films of yesteryear, like Porky's, this guy would be lauded as a hero.
Okay, but this is not Steve Guttenberg or any of those actors from the 1980s. This is a guy who's probably homeless and probably perverted.
Authorities say he also looked around the shower enclosure while 2 women were inside. Police say he even stole pizza that was delivered there.
Oh, come on. Now it's getting personal.
So they're violated and hungry.
Police say he even stole pizza that was delivered there. And that wasn't all.
At some point, left, changed clothes, and came back.
Changed clothes and came back? That's not what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do at Costco when you're trying to scam the little old ladies for 2 samples.
This time wearing a ski mask.
Oh, wow, that upped the ante fast.
So when he was just casing the joint, he did not need to cover his face. But now, since he realized that security was so lax at this sorority and the girls had no idea that he was there, it was time to upgrade, time to escalate.
So what does he say? No. I'm not a pervert anymore. I'm a serial killer.
Berkeley police recognized the suspect from surveillance video and arrested 45-year-old Courtney Alford, a convicted felon who has a pending case in Oakland for lewd acts with a child.
Oh, my.
How is he even on the streets?
California.
Of course, because, that's accountability.
He has an extensive criminal history, and when police searched his home in Dublin,
We found over 900 rounds of ammunition.
Oh, my goodness.
And clearly our Department of Rehabilitation is teaching him a lesson.
We are very lucky that the worst that happened in this case was he stole their undies.
Parts to an assault rifle as well as some high-capacity magazines.
I spoke to the mother of the suspect's 8-year-old daughter who did not want to go on camera. She told me Alfred was a guest of one of the sorority members.
No.
Who invited this guy in? Oh, girls, you're never going to believe who I met earlier today. He's tall and he's handsome and he's got a ski mask and he's coming over later.
He's from a neighboring fraternity, Cho Mo.
Now, he's had some run-ins with the law before, but it's nothing real serious. It's lewd acts with a child. So get all of the crudités ready because he's coming.
I spoke to the mother of the suspect's 8-year-old daughter who did not want to go on camera. She told me Alfred was a guest of one of the sorority members.
And she procreated with this guy.
Dummy.
I am baffled. I am in shock. I am feeling all of the emotions.
Well, start voting differently.
Of everything.
On Friday, this guard kept watch outside AKIO, which had no comment. But members of another sorority said they were concerned.
We see people on the streets like just sometimes, and we never could expect for someone to actually get into our house.
It's very scary, and we want to be safe where we live, so not a good feeling, but we feel safer. You know, we have good security.
Not that night.
How could you walk away from this and say, we have great security? He was able to get into the house twice, once in a ski mask.
Now, the Alameda County DA's office has charged the suspect with burglary, trespassing, peeking, invading privacy, and being a felon with a gun and ammo. Live in Berkeley, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
That's quite a litany of charges. Did they not charge him for the panty raid?
I guess not. What do they think that was? Initiation?
So this guy, already a convicted felon, already has a pending case for child molestation. Then all of this. Johnny, how long before he's back out on the street?
Oh, almost immediately. This is Alameda County, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, almost immediately.